"We're reorganizing the territory," my boss said, avoiding eye contact. "Your position is being eliminated." I sat across from Marcus Reed in his Veltric Optics office, staring at the termination letter he'd pushed toward me. The ink on the $2 million contract I had just secured wasn't even dry. "I understand," I replied, keeping my voice steady even though I felt like a storm was building inside me. "Thank you for the opportunity." "My name is Cassandra Doyle. I'm a 36-year-old senior sales executive from Plano, Texas. And I had just been cut out of the biggest commission check of my entire career. For 8 months, I had given everything I had to win our new client, Horizon Innovations. I'd taken 12 flights across the country, sat through 43 negotiation rounds, customized more pitch decks than I could count, and built a working relationship with their CEO that went far beyond routine business meetings. And now, just 2 weeks before the commission was supposed to hit my account, Marcus had decided that my role was suddenly redundant. As I packed my desk, I could feel my coworkers glancing at me from the corners of their eyes. Some looked sympathetic. Others just relieved that it wasn't happening to them. Marcus had timed all of this perfectly, 4:00 p.m. on a Friday, when most of the higher-ups were already headed out for their weekend golf trips. Classic office politics. "I'm so sorry, Cassandra," Violet from accounting whispered as she walked past. "Everyone knows this isn't right." I gave her a small smile, refusing to break. "It's just business, right?" But it wasn't just business. It was personal. Landing Horizon wasn't just another deal. It was the peak of my 15-year career. That commission would have finally cleared the medical bills from my mother's unexpected surgery last year. Marcus knew that. We had even talked about it over drinks a month ago, while he congratulated me for nearly closing the contract. I took one last glance around the office where I had spent 5 years of my life, then walked out with my head high. Inside the elevator, I checked my phone. A message from Jonah Freeman, Horizon's CEO, lit up my screen. "Dinner's still on for Wednesday to celebrate the partnership." I felt a small smile tug at my lips. What Marcus didn't understand was that real business isn't just contracts and numbers. It's the relationships you build. And my connection with Jonah was built on a genuine sense of trust and respect. He had told me stories about his kids. I'd shared my dream of starting my own consulting firm someday. By the time I reached my car, I already knew what I was going to do. This wasn't over. Not even close. For 5 years, I had been one of Veltric's strongest performers. I had built my entire client list from the ground up and turned struggling accounts into some of our top earners. Just last year, I brought in $4.3 million in new business, and Marcus thought he could simply cut me out. He was about to learn otherwise. The sales plaques and achievement awards sitting in a box in my trunk were proof of everything I'd accomplished. But things at Veltric had been shifting for a while. About 3 months ago, Gregory Hansen stepped in as the new CEO, and he brought Marcus Reed along as the vice president of sales. That's when the rumors started. They were restructuring to maximize shareholder value. We all knew what that really meant. Cutting corners wherever possible. Looking back, the warning signs had been everywhere, but I brushed them aside. First came the cancellation of our annual sales retreat. Then the new, streamlined commission structure, which somehow always paid less than the old system, even when your numbers went up. And slowly, the pressure began to grow. Hand off your client relationships to the account management team. Step back. Stop asking questions. My closest coworker, Thomas, had tried to warn me over lunch one afternoon. "They're pushing out the old guard, Cass," he said. "Replacing seasoned salespeople with fresh graduates they can pay half as much." I didn't think it would touch me. Not with my numbers. Not with the Horizon deal nearly finalized. My father used to tell me that in business, loyalty should go both ways. He spent 30 years at the same company, working his way up from the mailroom to management. But that world doesn't exist anymore. Today's corporate environment rewards people like Marcus, leaders who see employees as replaceable tools, not human beings. On the drive home, I called my mother. I couldn't bring myself to tell her I'd been fired. Not yet. Not when I'd promised to help cover her medical bills. "How's my superstar?" she asked, sounding cheerful. "Just fine, Mom," I lied, forcing a smile into my voice. "How are you feeling today?" "Better than yesterday. Worse than tomorrow," she joked. The same line she'd used since her surgery. After we hung up, I stayed in my parked car for a long moment, staring up at my condominium building and trying to figure out my next move. My severance would keep me afloat for about 3 months, but without that commission check, I would have to pull money from my savings to cover Mom's next payment. Unless... I scrolled through my contacts until I reached Jonah's name. During the negotiation process, our weekly dinners had become a routine. He valued honesty and genuine connection. That was what drew Horizon to Veltric in the first place. Or more truthfully, what drew them to me. I hesitated only for a second before pressing call. The phone rang twice before Jonah picked up. "Cassandra, I was just thinking about you. Still on for Wednesday?" "Absolutely," I said. Then I took a breath. "But Jonah, there's something we need to talk about." Wednesday evening brought me to La Cantara, the upscale restaurant in downtown Plano where Jonah and I had celebrated our verbal agreement just 2 weeks earlier. I arrived early, chose a quiet corner table, and ordered a bottle of his favorite Cabernet. When Jonah walked in, his smile faded the moment he saw my expression. "Something's wrong," he said as he took his seat. I drew in a steady breath and told him everything. No dramatic wording, no emotional appeals, just the plain facts. I had been terminated exactly 2 weeks before my commission would have paid out on the deal I had built from the very first introduction to the signed contract. Jonah's face darkened. "That's contemptible." "It's just business," I said, repeating the phrase that had become a bitter echo in my mind. "No." Jonah set his wine glass down carefully. "Business is built on relationships and integrity. Without that, it's just theft in a suit." Coming from the CEO of a $500 million technology company, his words carried real weight. "What will you do now?" he asked. "I've been offered a position with Crystalline Systems," I replied, referring to one of Veltric's top competitors. "They've been trying to bring me on for years." Jonah nodded slowly, already calculating the impact. "And our contract with Veltric still has the 14-day rescission clause." "Exactly," I said. "We went through it together. Remember? Either party can withdraw without penalty within 2 weeks." I wasn't asking him to cancel. I would never do that. The decision needed to be his, based purely on what made sense for Horizon. Jonah looked at me for a long moment, then pulled out his phone. "Harold," he said to his legal counsel, "pull the Veltric contract. I want to invoke the rescission clause first thing tomorrow." He paused, listening. "Yes, I'm sure. And clear my morning schedule for a call with their leadership." After ending the call, he turned back to me. "This isn't just about your commission, Cassandra. When we negotiated, you personally guaranteed you'd oversee implementation. That mattered. A lot. To our decision." I nodded, feeling the tension in my shoulders loosen. "To be honest," I said, "Crystalline's product line is a better match for what you need. Their optical components have a longer warranty, and their custom design team has more experience with your specific applications." "When can you start there?" Jonah asked. "Monday. They're ready for me." "Good." Jonah lifted his glass. "Then I look forward to hearing their proposal next week." We finished dinner talking about his daughter's college applications and my mother's improving health. I didn't feel triumphant, and I didn't feel spiteful. Just a steady sense of relief that integrity still mattered to some people, even when loyalty was disappearing from the corporate world. By the time the check arrived, the first phase of my response to Marcus's betrayal was already underway. Not revenge, correction. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 7 a.m. Marcus. I ignored the call. He tried again and again. By the fourth attempt, I finally picked up. Cassandra. He sounded breathless, almost frantic. We need to talk. About what, Marcus? I asked calmly. My position was eliminated, remember? I kept my tone light, as if we were discussing the weather. Horizon just canceled their contract. Jonah Freeman personally called Gregory and pulled the deal. Did you have anything to do with this? How could I? I replied. I don't work for Veltric anymore. His voice shifted instantly, trying to sound agreeable. Listen, there's been a misunderstanding. We want to bring you back, Marcus said, trying to sound controlled. Same position. Better compensation package. The territory reorganization has been postponed. I almost laughed at how transparent the desperation was. That's a generous offer, Marcus, I replied, but I've already accepted a role with Crystalline Systems. I start Monday. The silence that followed was so heavy it practically echoed. Crystalline? Cassandra, you can't do that. My non-compete doesn't apply when I'm terminated without cause. I finished for him. Page 4, paragraph 3 of my contract. I went over it with my attorney yesterday. Another long stretch of silence. What did you tell Freeman? The truth, I said. That I was terminated right after securing his business. Damn it, Cassandra. The professional tone snapped. Do you have any idea what you've done? The board is going ballistic. This was a cornerstone deal for the quarter. It sounds stressful, I replied, feeling strangely calm. I should let you go so you can manage that situation. Best of luck, Marcus. I ended the call before he could respond. Almost immediately, a text from Violet popped up on my screen. Office is chaos. Gregory called an emergency meeting. Marcus looks like he's about to explode. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to Crystalline's headquarters for an early meeting with their executive team. The sleek glass building was a sharp contrast to Veltric's aging office park. Inside, I was greeted by Eleanor Walsh, the CEO who had been trying to recruit me for years. Welcome to the team, Cassandra, she said, offering a firm handshake. We're thrilled to have you. Thank you for the opportunity, I said. And for the first time in a long while, I genuinely meant it. Eleanor led me into a conference room where the executive team was already gathered. Everyone, she announced, Cassandra is joining us from Veltric, and she's already making an impact. Horizon Innovations canceled their contract with Veltric this morning. The executives exchanged surprised looks. Now, Eleanor continued, we have a very narrow window of opportunity. Cassandra already has a strong relationship with Horizon's CEO. We need to act fast and get our solution in front of them before their procurement team considers any other vendors. I cleared my throat. I've tentatively set up a meeting with Jonah for next Wednesday. He's expecting our proposal. Eleanor's smile spread. Perfect. Then let's make it absolutely irresistible. For the next 3 days, I worked closely with Crystalline's product team to build a fully customized package for Horizon. Unlike Veltric's one-size-fits-all model, we designed every element around Horizon's specific requirements. The pricing structure I put together ended up being lower than Veltric's, while offering better terms and stronger guarantees. This could easily be a $2.5 million deal, the finance director said after reviewing the proposal. With expansion potential to $4 million within 2 years, I added. By Monday afternoon, I had 8 voicemails from Marcus and 3 from Gregory, each message more frantic than the last. The final one came as I was leaving Crystalline's office. Cassandra, this is Gregory Hansen. Whatever Crystalline is paying you, we'll beat it. Name your price. We need you back. I deleted the voicemail without hesitation. Some bridges, once burned, aren't worth rebuilding. Wednesday arrived with an unexpected knot in my stomach. Even though I believed strongly in Crystalline's superior solution, years in sales had taught me one hard truth. Nothing is final until the ink is dry. As our team prepared to leave for the meeting with Horizon, a text came through from a number I didn't recognize. It's Thomas. Using Violet's phone. Urgent. Marcus is meeting with Jonah right now. Offering 30% discount plus free implementation. My stomach dropped. Marcus was making a last-ditch counteroffer. I showed the message to Eleanor. Can we head over now? I asked. I think we need to be in front of this. Eleanor gave a firm nod, her expression tightening, and we walked out immediately. When we arrived at Horizon's headquarters, the receptionist informed us that Jonah was in a meeting, but had left instructions to send us to Conference Room B as soon as we got there. Walking through the familiar hallways felt surreal, almost like stepping back into a memory instead of reality. But the moment we entered the conference room, I stopped in my tracks. Seated at the table were Jonah and Marcus, looking far too confident. Gregory was also there, and his expression shifted to surprise when he saw us. Cassandra, Jonah said warmly as he stood. Perfect timing. These gentlemen from Veltric were just explaining why I should reconsider my cancellation. Marcus's smug confidence evaporated the moment I introduced Eleanor and the Crystalline team. We were under the impression this was an exclusive meeting, Gregory said sharply. I invited both parties, Jonah replied, completely calm. I prefer to make decisions with all the information on the table. What followed became one of the strangest presentations of my entire career. Marcus launched into Veltric's desperate list of offers: steep discounts, extended warranties, free training, and every concession imaginable. Then I presented Crystalline's thoughtful, customized proposal. While I spoke, Jonah listened closely, occasionally asking questions, but giving no clear indication of which way he was leaning. When both sides finished, he stood. This has been very helpful. I'll need to review everything with my team before making a final decision. Outside the building, Marcus cornered me in the parking lot. You won't get away with this, he hissed. You have no idea what you're up against. I'm up against a man who fired me to avoid paying my commission, I said calmly. I think I understand the situation perfectly. His jaw tightened. It wasn't personal. It was a business decision. And this, I replied, gesturing toward Horizon's building, is my business decision. May the best solution win. Back at Crystalline, Eleanor was more upbeat than I expected. You handled that exceptionally well. Freeman was clearly more engaged during your presentation. He's thorough, I said. He won't choose based on personalities. 2 incredibly long days passed. Then, on Friday afternoon, Jonah's number flashed across my phone screen. We've made our decision, he said without any build-up. Can you come to my office at 4 p.m.? The drive to Horizon felt like navigating a minefield of doubts. Had Marcus's last-minute discount worked? Had the procurement team chosen the cheaper option? When I arrived, I was brought straight to Jonah's office. To my surprise, no one from Veltric was there. Just Jonah and his team. Cassandra, he said, I'd like you to walk our team through exactly how Crystalline's optical sensors will integrate with our current systems. For the next hour, I explained the implementation plan in detail and answered every technical question Horizon's engineers had. When we finished, Jonah stood and extended his hand. We'll go with Crystalline. The contract is being finalized as we speak. Relief washed over me, followed by the professionalism I'd learned to maintain. You won't regret it. The product is truly superior. I know, he said, but just as important is choosing to work with people who demonstrate integrity. 1 month later, I sat in my new corner office at Crystalline, reviewing the fully executed contract with Horizon. The deal closed at $2.5 million with a clear path for expansion. My commission was significantly higher than anything Veltric would have paid, and the structure was far more favorable. Violet had kept me updated on what happened afterward. Marcus had been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into his management practices. 3 other sales. Executives resigned in solidarity. Veltric's stock dropped 11% after the Horizon deal collapsed and the internal turmoil became public. But the most satisfying development came that morning in an email from Harold, Horizon's legal counsel. He had forwarded an internal message Jonah sent to his executive team. Our decision to partner with Crystalline over Veltric wasn't just about pricing or product specifications. It was about aligning with a company whose values match our own. When Veltric terminated Ms. Doyle immediately after she secured our business, explicitly to avoid paying her commission, they revealed their true corporate character. Such short-sighted greed does not reflect the long-term partnership we seek. Crystalline, on the other hand, recognized talent and integrity and acted decisively. That is the kind of business instinct we respect. I printed the email and pinned it to my office wall, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of what truly matters in business. That afternoon, Eleanor stopped by my office. "I just got off the phone with Bedford Industries," she said. "Their procurement officer heard about how we secured the Horizon contract and wants to explore moving their business to us." I raised an eyebrow. "Bedford? They've been with Veltric for years." "7 years," she confirmed, "worth about $1.8 million annually. They're worried about stability and leadership over there." Word was spreading quickly. What Marcus had done wasn't being viewed as a simple case of workplace arrogance anymore. It was becoming an industry warning, a reminder of how badly things could go when a company mistreated its own people. Later that evening, just as I was getting ready to leave, my assistant forwarded me a voicemail from Gregory Hansen. "Cassandra, this is Gregory. I want you to know that Marcus Reed is no longer employed at Veltrix. His behavior was never approved by me or by the board. We'd still like to discuss the possibility of you returning. Please call me." I didn't hesitate. I deleted the message instantly. My new office overlooked the downtown skyline. My team was talented, supportive, and genuinely excited about our work. My compensation package included equity in a company that actually believed in long-term relationships, not just quarterly numbers. And that morning, I'd received the call that mattered more than any promotion. My mother's doctor said her latest tests showed major improvement. With the financial stability I'd gained, I'd been able to move her to a top specialist, one her insurance had never covered. As I drove home, I thought about everything that had happened over the past 5 weeks. I never went looking for revenge when Marcus betrayed me. I simply made sure the truth came out, and the consequences that followed were the result of his own choices. I hadn't destroyed Veltrix. They had harmed themselves by valuing quick wins over genuine partnerships. My phone buzzed, with a text from Jonah. "Implementation team says everything's ahead of schedule. Dinner next week to celebrate?" "Absolutely," I replied. "First round's on me." My father's words about loyalty echoing both ways came back to me. The corporate world may have changed since his days, but some things were timeless. Integrity, relationships, and the simple truth that the way you treat people always finds its way back to you. Marcus ended up teaching me a powerful lesson, though not the one he intended. In business or life, your reputation isn't defined by your promises, it's defined by your actions, especially when you assume no one is paying attention. 6 months after joining Crystalline, I stood on stage accepting the Sales Executive of the Year award at the annual industry conference. As I scanned the audience, I recognized several familiar faces from Veltrix, including Gregory, who gave me a stiff, polite smile when our eyes met. My acceptance speech was short. I talked about the value of ethics in business and the importance of building real, lasting relationships. I didn't bring up Veltrix or the reasons I'd left. I didn't have to. Everyone already knew what had happened. Success in sales isn't just about closing deals, I said in closing. It's about creating partnerships where both sides genuinely win. When we lose sight of that, we stop being sales professionals and become nothing more than transaction processors. The applause was wonderful, but what happened afterward meant even more. One by one, people from across the industry came up to me, some to offer warm congratulations, others asking for advice, and a few quietly inquiring about possible roles at Crystalline. Bedford Industries had, in fact, moved their account to us, and 2 other major Veltrix clients had followed. Our market share had increased by 15%, while Veltrix's had fallen by nearly 20%. Jonah found me during the reception. "Congratulations," he said, gently tapping his glass against mine. "You earned this." "Thank you for giving Crystalline a chance," I replied. "How's everything going on your end?" "Ahead of schedule and under budget," he said proudly. "Your team is outstanding." "They really are," I agreed. "And your group has been incredible to work with, too." We talked for a few minutes about upcoming projects before he was pulled away by another executive. As I watched him leave, Eleanor appeared beside me. "Take a look at this," she said, handing me her tablet. The headline read, "Veltrix Optics announces layoffs amid continuing market struggles." The article reported that Gregory Hansen had stepped down as CEO, replaced by the board chairman in an interim role. I didn't feel triumph, just a calm acceptance. The writing had been on the wall for a long time. Later that day, I walked toward the care facility where my mother now lived, the autumn breeze scattering leaves along the sidewalk. Because of my improved financial situation, she had her own private room at the best rehabilitation center in Plano, complete with daily physical therapy and cutting-edge treatments. "There's my girl," she said brightly as I entered, closing the book she'd been reading. At 68, she still had the warm smile and sharp humor that had always carried me through difficult times. "How's the new medication working?" I asked, settling into the chair beside her. "The doctor says I'm responding better than anyone expected," she said. "I might be able to move back to my place by Christmas." "That's amazing, Mom." She gave me a playful look. "And how's my corporate warrior? Still taking over the business world?" I laughed and updated her on everything. I had recently been promoted to Vice President of Strategic Accounts at Crystalline, with 12 sales executives reporting directly to me. The Horizon project had been so successful that they'd expanded the contract to include 2 more divisions, bringing the total value to $3.8 million. "You know what your father would say about all this?" she said, her eyes softening. "Success is best when it's earned honestly," I said, repeating the phrase he had lived by. She nodded. "He would be so proud of you, Cassandra, not just for what you've achieved, but for how you've achieved it." After leaving the facility, I headed to a coffee shop to meet Thomas. He had left Veltrix the previous month and had been interviewing with several companies. "I've got great news," he said the moment I sat down. "I accepted a job at Meridian Technologies." "That's fantastic," I said. "Sales?" "Sales director," he replied, almost glowing. 15% higher base salary than Veltrix, and a much better commission plan. "They're lucky to have you," I said honestly. "I almost called Marcus to thank him," Thomas joked. "Being tied to Veltrix lately is like getting a golden invitation to all their competitors." As my career grew at Crystalline and my team expanded, Marcus occasionally crossed my mind, not with anger, but with clarity. He had shown me, unintentionally, a powerful truth. The way we treat others shapes not only their future, but our own. My victory wasn't in watching him lose his position. My victory was choosing not to let his actions limit my path. The greatest satisfaction wasn't his downfall. It was the fact that I rose, built something better, and succeeded on my own terms.